and the bandoliers.
28 years later, 2025, plot and ending explained and what coming next. Welcome to Movie Creepers. The rage virus is back, and it's more terrifying than ever. Danny Boyle returns with 28 years later, a chilling, emotional, and deeply violent sequel to the cult horror classics 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Written by Alex Garland, the film doesn't just revisit the UK post-apocalypse, it rebuilds it. With new mutations of the virus, new types of infected, and a generation of survivors who've grown up never knowing a world before the outbreak. 28 years later is as much about survival as it is legacy. And yes, it's just the beginning of a new trilogy. Let's break down the story, the ending, and what it sets up for the sequel, The Bone Temple. If you love horror breakdowns, creepy theories, and chilling twists, like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell before something rings it for you. The cold open, rage returns with a Teletubby hug. The film opens in the Scottish Highlands on the same day the virus first broke out. Children are watching Teletubbies when infected storm a remote home. The only survivor? A boy named Jimmy, who escapes to a nearby church. There, his father, a priest, tells him the outbreak is divine punishment. He gives Jimmy his golden crucifix before allowing the infected to take him. Jimmy hides in the crypt and survives. This prologue sets the tone, equal parts surreal and horrifying. It also introduces the idea of survival tied to trauma and religion, something that will come back later in the story.
There were so many dead. Infected and non-infected alike.
Holy Island, a new generation in isolation. Jump to the present 28 years after the outbreak. Mainland Europe has quarantined the UK, locking the island down. NATO ships guard the waters, and anyone who enters can never leave. On Holy Island, also known as Lindisfarne, a small low-tech community has built a fragile peace. Here we meet 12-year-old Spike and his father Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Jamie is prepping his son for a ceremonial rite of passage, his first trip to the mainland to hunt and kill an infected. The community has strict rules: no rescue if the tide rises, only primitive weapons and a mantra, head and heart. Spike is nervous. His mother Isla, bedridden and sick, is getting worse. Still, Jamie insists it's time.
You know, I feel he's a bit young.
He's ready, Jenny.
7, 6.
Slow lows, fast ones, and alpha infected. Once on the mainland, things go south fast. Spike manages to kill his first infected, a slow low, a disturbing new mutation of the rage virus. These infected crawl and ooze across the ground, covered in mold and filth. But the danger escalates when they spot something worse: a towering, muscled variant Jamie calls an alpha. The alpha leads a pack of classic infected. Gaunt, naked, and shrieking, they charge. Jamie and Spike barely escape into an attic, planning to wait for low tide to return. But the alpha, intelligent and patient, watches from a distance. Jamie's excitement over the hunt fades. The alpha isn't just another infected, it's something new. Something that changes everything.
Infected and non-infected alike.
Home isn't safe anymore. Back on Holy Island, the community celebrates their return, but Spike is rattled. He caught his father exaggerating their mainland exploits and secretly sleeping with another woman. When Spike confides in a family friend, he learns a critical secret. A doctor named Kelson lives on the mainland and might help Isla. When Spike confronts Jamie about the doctor and his betrayal, their argument turns physical. Jamie tries to explain that he once visited Dr. Kelson and was disturbed by what he saw: a man cremating bodies, alone, detached. But Spike has had enough. Jamie eventually sneaks Isla off the island in the night, determined to find help himself. But it's Spike who steps up. He comforts his mother and guides her through the dangerous mainland. As Isla's condition deteriorates, she experiences moments of lucidity. She even protects Spike from an attacking Slowlo, bashing its head against an altar after wrapping it in a tarp. Rage evolves, and so does the story. Elsewhere, a NATO patrol is hunted through a tunnel by another Alpha, or as they call it, a berserker. One soldier survives and will soon cross paths with Spike. Meanwhile, something strange happens near a river infected gather to bathe. One of them is heavily pregnant. This shocking moment implies the Rage virus is evolving. The infected aren't just surviving, they're reproducing. Spike and Isla flee to a shell gas station, pursued by infected. As the fumes begin to suffocate them, the surviving soldier, Eric Sundqvist, Edvin Riding, arrives just in time and incinerates the horde. He agrees to help Spike and Isla find Dr. Kelson. On the way, Isla has a breakthrough she can walk again. But tragedy isn't far behind. The birth, the Alpha, and the Doctor. Isla stumbles across the pregnant, infected giving birth in a train car. She helps deliver the baby and wash it. But when the mother wakes and attacks, Eric kills her. Then comes the Alpha the Berserker, who rips Eric's head clean off. Just as all seems lost, Dr. Kelson, Ralph Fiennes, appears, tranquilizes the Alpha, and brings Spike, Isla, and the baby to his home. Kelson is eccentric, surrounded by bone sculptures and skull pyramids he calls his memento mori. He has survived by sedating infected and burning bodies. He confirms the baby is not infected, possibly immune. But he also confirms Isla's diagnosis. She has advanced cancer in her breast and brain. Isla chooses to die on her own terms. Kelson euthanizes her gently after embracing her son. When Spike wakes, the doctor gives him Isla's skull and instructs him to place it atop the pyramid. It's a heartbreaking yet cathartic moment of farewell, a memory, a ritual of love and loss. The legacy lives on with a new name. Spike prepares to leave, carrying the baby in a basket. He returns to Holy Island before dawn, leaves the child at the gate with a note, and names her Isla. Then, he disappears into the mainland, determined to carve his own path. Jamie tries to chase him down, but it's too late, the tide is in. All he can do is scream his son's name across the water. It's a poetic reversal of the opening scene. At the start, a father gives a child a symbol of faith before dying. At the end, a son gives his child a second chance. The final twist, Jimmy returns. In the final scene, Spike roasts a fish beside a road. Infected charge at him, and he handles them like a seasoned warrior. But he's cornered at a barricade. That's when Jimmy reappears, all grown up, now calling himself Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal. He leads a cult of bleach blonde survivors in matching shell suits. He's wearing the upside-down crucifix his father gave him and congratulates Spike on his skills. The cult slaughters the remaining infected in a brutal ritual, stringing up the last one just like the scene Jamie and Spike encountered in the house earlier. Jimmy invites Spike to join them. The screen cuts to black. Is 28 years later a standalone? Or the start of something bigger? Yes and no. According to Danny Boyle, 28 years later works as a standalone story. But it's also the beginning of a new trilogy. The sequel, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, is already shot and scheduled for release in January 2026. It will be directed by Nia DaCosta, and will continue the journey of Spike and perhaps others. Boyle has said that the trilogy will have a thematic thread running through it, specifically the legacy of Jim, the protagonist from 28 Days Later. While he doesn't appear in this film, his spirit looms large. Even the characters seem to follow similar arcs of isolation, survival, and the cost of leadership in a broken world. What will the Bone Temple bring? More infected variants? More human cults? Will the baby Isla prove to be the key to curing or advancing the virus? And what is Jimmy's endgame as a self-made prophet of the post-apocalypse? One thing's for sure, if 28 years later is any indication, this new trilogy is set to be the most twisted, emotional, and grotesquely beautiful entry in the saga yet. The final takeover. So that's 28 years later, a brutal, poetic return to the rage-infected world we first saw over 2 decades ago. With new characters, deeper mythology, and a story that actually earns its title, it's one of the most compelling horror sequels in recent memory. And it's just the beginning. If you're excited for the Bone Temple or have theories about what's next for Spike, Jimmy, and the baby Isla, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, aim for the head and the heart. Always. Subscribe to Movie Creepers for more epic breakdowns, and don't forget to like and ring the bell, because every scene has a secret.